Poppy makes a Newt Scamander inspired beanie hat. For this you will be needing a round loom board, yellow and gray wool, a pair of scissors, a needle hook and a needle, pom-pom makers, and measuring tape. Hey there and welcome, or maybe even welcome back. So today I'm going to show you how to make a Newt Scamander inspired beanie hat. You may remember that I have made a Newt Scamander inspired scarf a couple of months ago. If you haven't seen that one yet, click on the info box now and I'll put the direct link down below in the description box. But now I'm going to show you how to make a Newt Scamander inspired beanie hat. So for more Harry Potter inspired, Newt inspired, or Fantastic Beasts inspired video tutorials, please check out the info box. There, you will also find a tutorial on how to make a Hogwarts inspired Kumihimo house bracelet like this one. So this was the Newt inspired scarf I made last time, and now I thought it would be fun to make a beanie hat to go with that. You will need a round loom board. I am using one with 31 pegs, which would make a good size hat for a child. As you may tell, I am working with the same wool and the same colors like I used for the Newt Scamander inspired Hufflepuff scarf. You could choose to work with different colors for other houses, like yellow and red for Gryffindor, but I wanted it to match my Hufflepuff scarf. So I'm also adding a pom-pom to the beanie, which I'm using these pom-pom makers for. If you don't have these pom-pom makers, don't worry, you can make them with or without the pom-pom makers. I'll show you later, but first we're going to start on the brim of the beanie hat. So I want to make a brim of about 10 centimeters, which is about 4 inches, but because we're going to fold it double, we'll need about 20 centimeters or about 8 inches. First things first, you'll need to make a slip knot. You'll need 2 balls of wool at a time. You could choose to work with a thicker wool, but I like the effect this gives. Grab the ends of both balls of wool and make a slip knot like so. Take the ends in your left hand, wrap the wool around your middle and index finger, holding the rest of the wool with your left hand. Cross the wool so you'll have a loop and grab the strands of wool still attached to the balls of wool and pull it through the loop. Attach the slip knot to the peg on the front of the loom board and start wrapping the wool around the pegs like so. Take the strands of wool still attached to the balls of wool and wrap them around the first peg from left to right, going over to the second, doing the same, over to the next, until you have wrapped all the pegs on the loom board. Don't worry if your wool jumps off of the loom board. It happens sometimes. You'll just need to get the hang of it. What I do is, I hold the wool in place with my left hand and I wrap the wool with my right hand. As I continue wrapping the wool, I also move my left hand further down the loom board. So, when it does jump off of the loom board, it won't be all the way back to the beginning. Once all the pegs are wrapped with wool, you'll need to push the wool on the pegs down so you can make a second row. Just the same as the first, by again wrapping the wool around all of the pegs. You could use a knitting needle to help you push down the wool, but I like to use my thumbnail. Once you've made a second row, it's time to grab your knitting needle again and to pull the first row, the first loop, over the second. Always start with the last peg you've wrapped to secure the wool. Just take your knitting needle and slide under the first loop on the peg, just in the dent of the peg. Pull it over the peg. Do the same with all the other pegs. To keep track on how many rows I knitted, I always write it down in a little book. You don't have to do this, it's just something I use so I know how many rows I've knit. Just a little tip. So now you have to just continue knitting the brim of the hat by wrapping all the pegs and pulling the loops over the top until you have about 20 centimeters or about 8 inches. Don't forget to, after about 2 or 3 rows, to take off the wool that you've wrapped on the front of the peg, to take it off the peg and fold it over the loom board towards the inside. Just go over and wrap around the pegs and pull the loops over the top and continue knitting. Okay, so I actually didn't want to come back with the video until I've knitted about 20 centimeters, but I came across a problem because I actually forgot to wrap a peg. So I thought, while I'm at it, why not show you how you can fix this problem? As you can see, I forgot to wrap a peg while I was pulling the bottom loops over the top. What you need to do when you come across this problem is actually pull the loops back on to the peg, like so. Just take the loop you've pulled over. So please don't panic by thinking you have to start over again. You really can fix this problem. It might take a little bit extra time, but it is worth your while, trust me. Now that all the loops are back onto the peg, you can unwrap or unwind the wool of your loom board and wrap it again so you can continue knitting. Okay guys, so I'm done knitting my brim. It is almost about 20 centimeters, so I'm fine with that. And now I'm going to show you how to fold it double so you can have a nice finished brim. You can choose to cut off your balls of wool off of the loom board. You don't have to do this, it is an option. You could choose to do this later. I chose to do so. Just if you cut them off of the loom board, don't forget to make a knot with the strands of wool still attached to the loom board. What you need to do now is fold the brim double by following a peg all the way to the bottom, taking that loop, which you'll find on the bottom, and pulling it over the peg, like so. Do the same with all the other pegs until all the loops are pulled over the pegs. You'll now see that you'll have 2 rows of wool on your loom board. Just pull the bottom loops over the top and continue knitting with the gray. If you never changed colors before, this is how you do it. Just make another slip knot and attach to the front peg and start wrapping the gray wool around the pegs. Again, continue knitting like before, and after about 2 or 3 rows, take off the wool on the front of the peg and lay it over towards the inside of the loom and continue knitting like before. I'm going to knit about 20 centimeters or 8 inches with the gray wool. I've also started knitting a beanie on a bigger loom, a loom with 33 pegs, which is a good size for an adult beanie. As you may see, I've set up the brim with just 1 strand of yellow wool because I wanted to make a thinner brim for this one. So for the larger beanie, I knitted a larger brim of about 30 centimeters and folded it double, just the same way as I did with the smaller one. Just traced it down a peg and picked up the loop and pulled it over the peg, and did the same with all the other loops. As you may see, I've left this strand of wool onto the ball of wool And once I've pulled all the bottom loops over the top, I cut off the strand of yellow wool off of the ball, and with a simple knot, I attach the yellow and the two strands of gray wool to one another and continue knitting with the gray wool. Also, I knitted a longer piece with the gray wool of about 20 to 25 centimeters, which is about 8 to 10 inches. Once you've knitted a long enough piece of gray wool for the beanie, you're going to take a very long piece of gray wool and thread a needle. With the needle, you're going to pull the thread through every loop on your loom board. Cut the strands of wool off of the balls of wool. You can choose to pick up the loop on your loom board after you've pulled the thread through the loop, but you could also choose to pull the thread through the loops first and then take off the loops. To help you pick up the loops of the loom board, you can use your needle hook to pick them up. So once you've taken off your beanie off of the loom board, you're going to turn the beanie inside out and pull the gray strands of wool and make a few good knots. Cut off the excess wool. And don't forget to also give a few good knots to the strands of wool where you've changed colors, and also cut off the excess wool. So this beanie on the left is the small beanie which I made on the small loom board with 31 pegs, and the beanie on the right is of course then the larger beanie which I made on the larger loom board which had 33 pegs. So the left would be a good size for a child and the one on the right is a good size for an adult. So now over to making pom-poms. As I said before, you do not need a pom-pom maker. You could also use your hand. For the smaller one, I advise to use 2 fingers, and for the larger one, I advise to use 3 fingers. And you'll need to do it like so. So I'm just going to show you a quick version of a pom-pom. Just take 2 fingers for a small pom-pom and wrap it around your fingers, not too tightly though. And for a bigger pom-pom, just wrap it around your fingers a couple of more times. Once you think your pom-pom is big enough, just take a strand of wool and pull it through the middle of your fingers and the pom-pom, make a good knot, take it off of your fingers, make another good knot, and snip the bottom and the top, and there you have your pom-pom. Just trim the edges to make it a bit more round and add it to your beanie. I'm just going to use my pom-pom makers. But if you don't have them, you can use your fingers to make pom-poms. I chose to work with the yellow wool for the big pom-pom and used a big pom-pom maker, but you'll see I didn't end up really using that pom-pom because I'm going to skip a bit forward. When I started making the second pom-pom for the small beanie, I saw it was a bit more fun using the gray and yellow at the same time for a pom-pom. So I ended up making another pom-pom for the big beanie because I liked it so much using the gray and the yellow. It was a bit more cute. You can do whatever you want. You can use a gray pom-pom or a yellow pom-pom, but I thought it was a bit more Hufflepuff to have a gray and yellow pom-pom. Okay, but anyways, that's all later. For now, what you'll need to know to attach a pom-pom, this is what you'll need to do. Take a strand of wool and with a simple knot in the middle, attach it to the pom-pom or use a larger pom-pom strand. And with the strands, go through the top of the beanie, turn it inside out, and make a few good knots. Don't forget to pull at least 2 strands of wool off the pom-pom through the beanie so the pom-pom is attached properly. And there you have it, your very own Newt Scamander inspired Hufflepuff beanie ad. If you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up. It would mean the world to me. Don't forget to check out my other Harry Potter Newt Scamander inspired Hufflepuff Fantastic Beasts inspired video tutorials. They're all in the description box and in the info box at the top. For more video tutorials in the near future, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll hope to see you again soon. For more ideas and free printables, please visit my blog puppymakesdiy.blogspot.com. If you have any ideas or requests on what I should make or bake next time, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. Click here to watch any of my other videos or to subscribe to my channel so you'll never miss a thing. Thanks for watching and see you next time!